they kind of laugh about it and say, well, shouldn't bring kids to a battle. It wasn't a battle. It was the middle of a city. It was Reuters reporters with their kids. And then people defended that on the radio. They defend torture on the radio. Well, this is what torture is. Let's go ahead and play part of that clip. And again, there's just a dog. It's in a city on the side of the road. They've put some food out for it next to a bomb. And the audio's not good, but you can hear them talking about it. Oh, come on, puppy, puppy. They make sweet, fake sweet noises to it. Come on, kid, get in the car. Yeah, and Cousin's coming up. They start celebrating and getting off on it. Let's go ahead. That's enough right there. So they blow up the dog and have a big celebration. Now, here's another video that I mentioned where Michelle Malkin and others said I was a liar. In fact, some blogs and groups, neocon groups, said that we might have even produced it, that it was a robot dog. Anybody who's ever had a dog knows you pick one up by the back of the scruff of the neck, it pulls its little legs up, you can see it's a real puppy, and they throw it off a cliff. And the Marines did an investigation, said, yes, it was true. But notice, people don't get upset about Iraqi kids being killed. That's manly and good. It's a dog, because dogs haven't been dehumanized yet. There's more value in an animal in our culture. My dad was coming over to do some .22 shooting with my children yesterday. And I said, well, everything's closed today. But I said, well, you go to Walmart and buy some of those box targets, those styrofoam targets, with squirrels and stuff on them. And he said, yeah. And when he was leaving Walmart, he got lectured by the old lady, please don't shoot squirrels and crows. And he said, well, it's for target practice. And the point is, she had to lecture him. This is all this anti-gun culture that's out there. But side issue, they care about animals, but not about humans. That's part of the dehumanization. Let's go to this next clip. Here they are with the puppy, enjoying themselves and throwing it off the cliff.
Cute little puppy, huh?
Oh, so cute little puppy.
A trick.
And then there's a celebration, but we can't play the cussing. So, again, face your crimes. You want preemptive war? You want police state? The Constitution's bad? Enjoy the fruits. Abortion isn't bad? Enjoy the fruits. Vaccines aren't bad? Enjoy the fruits. We'll be back with your calls. All right, we are now into hour number 2. It's going to be open phones. I haven't even gotten into the NDAA being signed, how the media, so-called media, is trying to spin it, why Obama demanded the indefinite detention of citizens be in there. That's tip of the iceberg, by the way. And then claimed he was against it but still signed it. I'm going to break this down. It's key. Coming up bottom of the hour, then we'll get into the latest on the austerity moves, the central bank takeovers, some New World Order quotes. I am wound up today. And I'm going to tie it into the record gun sales that are taking place and how the police can't even deal with one suspect who they believe shot this park ranger. And again, it's like, well, why would he shoot friends at a party, allegedly, this veteran of 2 tours in Iraq, and then run off and just shoot a park ranger like they were nothing at a checkpoint to stop him? Because human life means nothing to them. And that's what's scary. A lot of these guys, people got screwed up in 1 tour in World War II. You only served 1 tour because after that it got bad for most people. Vietnam, maybe 2-3 tours if you volunteered. I know people that have served 7 or 8 tours, and they get addicted to it because they're not living until, it's like the Hurt Locker. That's very accurate, until they're in super danger. Some people can deal with it. A lot of them can't. They kill themselves, they kill their families, or they kill cops. And what's going to happen is the system's going to start harassing veterans more now, and it's going to be like sticking your hand down a badger hole, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse, which is exactly what the globalists want. They're social engineers. They know what they're doing. All right, let's go to your calls. Tim in Deutschland, you're on the air from Germany.
Hello. Happy New Year from Germany. Thanks for your work, Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to endorse many of the perspectives you give over the years in your programs from the German perspective. What people in the United States should realize is we have the same stuff going here. The rules, the attempts to control the Internet, bringing drones and UAVs into civil airspace. The same stuff is happening here in parallel. It's happening in Germany that they bring the UAVs now. They just do it by the stroke of a pen. They say it's just a piece of law concerning the aviation authorities, but these drones can surveil us, they can spy on us, and they just bring them on.
Yeah, it's the unelected bureaucracies that on their boards have these internationalists that The Economist magazine calls for, the technocrats, to take over. And they're preparing for war against us because that's the new economy. That's the new system. But no amount of drones and tinker toys. They've got military drones with infrared over this guy out in Washington State at Mount Rainier. And okay, drones, hundreds of militarized police, and they can't stop one guy. It's pathetic.
And the same thing is happening even with Ron Paul. You regularly mention The Spiegel, which is a really big German magazine. The same stuff in ignorance towards Ron Paul, the total absence of journalism is present here with him as well. They talk about long gone Rick Perry and how influential he was in his campaign, and they talk about Michelle Bachmann and identify the Tea Party only with these stooges and completely ignore what Ron Paul says or how many Germans, because they're afraid many Germans would approach the non-interventionalism. And even in Spiegel, it's completely synchronized to what I see on Politico and other U.S. news.
That's a good word. Global standardization, synchronization. This is the global government. Everything we do is under UN, UNESCO, US, EU. It's all standardized.
It's the same groups everywhere. We used the attack on the internet now with SOPA. We used to have this Bilderberg and CFR plant mole of a German Secretary of Defense to Gutenberg. And the guy was doing his PhD on a pretty much ripped off...
I'll tell you what, Tim, I want you to recap what you're saying, finish your point when we come back. I'm going to play this new Ron Paul attack ad, then we'll finish it with Tim. Then we'll go to Carol, John, Rudy, Janice, and others. Wide open phones. I haven't even gotten into NDAA. This is key. What's coming up? Call your friends and family. Tell them. Tune in right now. Tim, stay there. Coming back to you. All right, we're going to continue with your calls here in just a moment. Calls from the United States, Australia, Germany, you name it. Here's an article up at Infowars.com right now. Obama's NDAA signing statement is meaningless. Administration itself demanded power to detain American citizens without trial. It's an article by Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones. I worked on the article a bit with Paul this morning, but Paul does the lion's share of the work. Appreciate him including me in the article. And it just breaks down the facts. Very important article. I want to get to this article and then back to your calls. We had a caller from Germany who was making the point that there's totally synchronized drones over the population, you know, the checkpoints, the cameras, the demonization of Ron Paul. Same thing worldwide. They're demonizing Ron Paul in Australia, I've seen articles, because they're scared of those ideas picking up. 2006, 2008, 2011, our intel from 3 separate Bilderberg meetings was they're scared of Ron Paul. Not that he's going to win from their perspective, but because he's winning by resisting, by getting these ideas out. It's like holy water to Nosferatu. That they are scared to death of this. Because the idea, the anti-venom to what this New World Order Cobra has pumped into us is out there. And if we discover it, the sword of truth, of common sense, of free market constitutionalism, bye-bye, New World Order. It's been the New World Order with NAFTA, GATT, all these wars that's bankrupted us, that's destroyed us. And now, here's an article. Huntsman releases tacky, glib, Twilight Zone attack ad. I would say desperate Huntsman launches Ron Paul attack ad, claims New World Order doesn't exist, but Huntsman releases tacky, glib Twilight Zone attack ad in desperate bid to steal Ron Paul voters. If Ron Paul's foreign policy positions are out of the Twilight Zone, that's what the ad does, why does Paul get the most support from U.S. military? By the way, I remember in 1998, they ran ads Texas-wide against him, Twilight Zone, with Twilight Zone music and going, he wants kids to use drugs. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. You know, he wants to get rid of the federal government. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. You know, all misrepresenting what he says. I saw an article in the Associated Press this morning saying Ron Paul believes there shouldn't be a space program. No, Ron Paul said it's not constitutional to pay for this giant space program and that private corporations should get into the business. We'd probably be much more advanced if they had. And, of course, they're weaponizing space. But continuing here, Huntsman has released this ad, and either tonight or tomorrow night, I want to go back and find George Herbert Walker Bush, Bill Clinton, Al Gore, Herman von Rompuy, head of the EU, all of them calling for a new world order and then saying that means global government. So here's Ron Paul in Endgame saying, yeah, they want a new world order. That's just what George Herbert Walker Bush called for. And so they have these clips from Endgame and from C-SPAN and places, and they're airing this, spending millions of dollars in Iowa, acting like he's crazy. Look, he's crazy. He says there's a global technocratic system run by megabanks being set up. We should get rid of the Federal Reserve and get our sovereignty back. Everybody knows that's nuts. When all Ron Paul is doing is reporting what's in the news. Yeah, he warned exactly what was coming 30 years ago. He was way ahead of the curve, but now we're in this paradox where it's all happening. I mean, I saw this weekend dozens of articles saying Ron Paul's nuts. He thinks they're going to put troops on the streets. There's already troops on the streets all over the country and TSA checkpoints. They're announcing they're going to use military domestically. It's in all the military publications. But these reporters talk to their readers and viewers and listeners like they're idiots. You know, every once in a while I'll call into local talk radio when they're talking about issues, or when they're reading one of my articles. And they always, on 2 different talk stations I've called into, they'll always play Black Helicopter noises or X-Files music or Empire Strikes Back battle theme and laugh at me while I'm talking. But I let them do it and still get the info out, because then most of the callers call in and add more data. But, oh, look, he's telling us exactly what's happening. Oh, my gosh, he's incredibly accurate. It all came true. Let's not say, man, we better listen to this guy. Let's attack him. Okay, let's go ahead and play this new desperate This is Huntsman. This is a guy that works for Obama. This is a big globalist. This is a guy CNN and MSNBC love. And here he is implying Ron Paul lives in the Twilight Zone. No, Ron Paul lives in the real world. And the public's starting to live in the real world and starting to go, wait, you're saying there's no new world order? But I've heard all these leaders call for one. Ron Paul isn't allowed to say, hey, America should be run by Americans and not some offshore banks. Hey, Ron Paul said NAFTA and GATT would be bad. He's not a kook. Remember, they called Ross Perot a kook. All they've got's name calling, and they count on you being childlike. Here's the clip of the Twilight Zone ad. Ron Paul Chronicles.
The assumption is that this guy is like your crazy uncle, but you never expected your crazy uncle to get this far. The problem with him is that he's got some very sound points, but then he's kind of, I don't know, in other areas scary.
All I can say is, you know, people have written about this, and the Skull and Bones is a secret order of Yale, and then the proposition is that people are there groomed for the Trilateral Commission and the CFR, and therefore they will then be in positions of great influence in our government.
President Bush said that the New World Order was in tune, and that's what they were working for.
600,000 Americans died in a senseless civil war. You buy the slaves and release them. How much would